claims are paid. And it's not until this well is sealed and this ocean in this area is cleaned up and the claims are paid that this incident will be deemed over. This is the largest incident response to an oil spill ever in the history of the United States. We have over 22,000 personnel working this spill. Literally hundreds of thousands of feet of boom have been laid. There are over 1,000 vessels that are on the water to skim, to lay boom, to pick up oil, to do what needs to be done to try to keep the ocean as free as possible from the oil. In addition, we have formed an independent estimates group with the best scientists available within the federal government, with peer review by others, to really estimate how much overall oil BP has now spilled into the Gulf of Mexico out of the Deep Horizon spill. That work is ongoing. So we continue to hold BP responsible as a responsible party, but we are on them, watching them. We know the value of these lands, of these parishes. We know, for example, Grand Isle, which is the one barrier island that has a large population, 100 people living on. We're heartsick that Grand Isle is now at risk. We are going to do everything we can to protect these lands, protect these parishes, and to make sure that claims are paid, the oil well is sealed, and this area comes back. So it's been a very productive session, I think, for all of us today. We are glad that we came. For some of us, we have been down. This is my fourth time to this area, the area of the spill. Secretary Salazar has been here repeatedly as well. We are going to stay on this and stay on BP till this gets done, and it gets done the right way. With that, let me turn it over to Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana. He has a few words. He'll be followed by the Secretary of the Interior, Ken Salazar.
I want to thank our secretaries and the senators for coming to Louisiana again. I want to give you an update. We had some very good, some very direct, some very frank talks. Over the past weeks, you know, I've visited each of the different parishes and cities and have met with local officials. We met often to discuss resources. We would need to protect our coast. Unfortunately, our visits have now also included on-the-ground assessments of the damage caused by this oil spill. For anyone who has seen this damage or has seen the impact of this oil firsthand, you know that what we've been saying is true. This oil threatens not only our coast and our wetlands, this oil fundamentally threatens our way of life here in South Louisiana. Just yesterday, went out on a boat to Cat Island with the President Plaquemines Parish. We saw islands covered in oil where our brown pelicans nest. We could actually see multiple birds that were oiled, some to the point where they couldn't fly. Wildlife and fishery officials tell us that critical birds are likely not even visible because they moved to the inside center of the island. The brown pelicans, obviously our state bird, recently was only several months ago removed from the endangered species list. The oil on those islands yesterday may actually kill off much of the marshlands that are so important for not only those birds but migratory birds, in addition to damaging that bird population there. It's not just at Cat Island. A few days ago, we took a boat out to Paso Lucha. We saw thick black and brown colored oil covering much of the perimeter of the marsh out there. And again, our biologists tell us that marsh may begin dying in as soon as 5 to 7 days. It is clear that we don't have the resources we need to protect our coast. We need more boom, more skimmers, more vacuums, more jack-up barges that are still in short supply. And let's be clear. Every day that this oil sits and waits for cleanup is one more day that more of our marsh dies. Over in Terrebonne Parish, oil is moving through their waters. Boom and workers sat for days waiting for their orders to be deployed. Yesterday, we met again with coastal parish leaders, just like we did when we formed our own detailed parish protection plans. We know we've got to take action. We've got to take matters into our own hands if we're going to win this fight to protect our coast. We met with parish leaders, emergency professionals, levee district officials, discussed strategies to fill the void we are currently seeing in response efforts to stop this oil. And let's be clear. Our goal is not to just clean up this oil once it hits our marshes. Our top goal must be keep this oil out of our wetlands, out of our marshes, out of this fragile ecosystem. The marsh is not a sandy beach. It'd be difficult to clean up. Environmental experts say trying to clean it up could actually do more harm than good in many cases. That means we as a state, we've got to do everything we can to stop this oil before it comes to our marsh. We've initiated a number of strategies, including tiger dams, HESCO baskets, sandbag drop operations, freshwater diversion, sand fill operations, sections and the proposal of our sand boom, our dredging plan. Had the chance to talk to the Secretary and the President about that yet again today. Working with parish leaders yesterday, we came up with new additional strategies to fill the current void in response efforts. We developed a strategy for state and parish officials to have better situational awareness of the oil's movement within our coast and our offshore waters. Wildlife and Fisheries have divided up the coast into sections. They'll be patrolling these sectors continuously so the containment and cleanup efforts can be operationalized quickly. Their efforts will be supported by the National Guard and parish officials. We will communicate our findings to BP and the Coast Guard on a daily basis to ensure our coast is continuously monitored and quickly cleaned. We will also report these findings publicly so the media and the public can keep updated and make sure that BP is held accountable for their cleanup efforts. We've also asked the Coast Guard to refocus their efforts so they have greater command and control on the ground, where action needs to be taken quickly to save our coast. We asked for the Coast Guard to forward deploy troops in every basin area of the coast so they can work closely with parish officials there, see the impact of the oil firsthand so they're better able to have eyes on the problem and respond quickly. We need decision makers from the Coast Guard there on the ground. We've been frustrated with the disjointed effort to date that has too often meant too little, too late for the oil hitting our coast. We need folks in each of the vulnerable basins, for example, the Breton Sound, Timbalera Terrebonne Bay, Barataria Bay, that can mobilize resources quickly to contain oil when it arrives. We don't need to wait 24 hours or 48 hours. BP is the responsible party, but we need the federal government to make sure that they are held accountable and that they are indeed responsible. Our way of life depends on it. The actions taken to respond to this oil today are going to determine the future of our state. We've also identified additional equipment and personnel available from parishes, agencies, levee districts that will help us take our own proactive measures to keep oil out of our marshes. We plan to use this equipment to expand ongoing efforts by the Guard, the National Guard, to close gaps in our coastal areas. We've identified 40 cuts, prioritized 14 of those. We're identifying additional cuts, so we're going to work to expedite fill-in efforts wherever we can with equipment from the state and parishes. The National Guard has already asked for additional helicopters from other states. We've gotten positive responses from other states on that request. On May 2nd, we leaned forward. We requested a large amount of resources that our parishes would need under a worst-case scenario response to this oil spill. The very next day, we announced all of our coastal parish detailed protection plans. We formally requested 3 million feet of absorbent boom, 5 million feet of hard boom, 30 jackup barges to allow us to keep the soil out of our wetlands. Today is May 24th. We have received to date a total of 815,569 feet of hard boom, not even a million feet. 680,249 feet of this total hard boom has been deployed. 135,320 feet of hard boom sits and waits to be deployed in the last 24 hours. In the last 24 hours, we have only received 5,040 feet of hard boom. We need more boom. We need more resources. We need the materials we've requested to fight this oil to keep it out of our marsh, off of our coast. I'll close by saying we continue to wait a decision on our dredging sand boom plan for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We have made the modifications suggested by the Corps. We've answered every question they submitted in the same day they asked their questions. We have shown them and the media pictures of the sand boom in Fouchon that is actively holding the oil back from farther inland, traveling into our marshes. We know this strategy works. That is why I've taken matters into our own hands yesterday to do more of these sand fills ourselves while we wait on approval for the larger dredging plan. To date, a total of just under 70 miles of our coast has been hit by oil. That is more than the sea shoreline of Maryland and Delaware combined. Let's be clear, and I'll close with this. We've only got two options in Louisiana. There's only two options in front of us. We can either fight this oil off of our coast 15 to 20 miles away on barrier islands, on sand booms, where it will do much less damage to our marine life and to our wetlands and our fragile ecosystem. But every day we do not fight this oil on a barrier island. Every day we are not dredging sand. It means one more day this oil has a chance to come into our ecosystem, into our wetlands that are home to some of the nation's most important fisheries. 30% of the nation's oil and gas comes off this coast, 30% of the nation's fisheries. These are America's wetlands. Let's make no mistake about what is at stake here is our way of life. This is not just about keeping oil off of a rocky land or a beach. This is about a way of life for our people and for our state. So we need to get this plan approved as quickly as possible. Every day that it is not approved is another day this choice is made for us, and we are forced to fight this oil farther and farther in our wetlands instead of off of our coast. We'd rather fight this. We don't want a drop of oil to hit our coast. But as governor of Louisiana, I'd much rather fight this oil on a barrier island on a hard, rocky coast than have to fight it inside of our wetlands. Thank you all very much.